What is going on, guys? I want to cover a lot of ground in a relatively short period of time by comparing and reviewing a bunch of these various strap systems here that I've checked out and reviewed, many of which you guys have told me to check out. And I really like these particular products for a number of reasons because of their practical application, not just in my kind of low footprint kind of home gym that I got set up, but also on my total gym or sliding bench trainer. What I'll be reviewing and comparing to each other in some way is the Iso-Flo by Bullworker, the T2 Fusion trainer, and I believe it's used to go by the name T2 Iso Trainer. I think that still might be the name on Amazon. And then the WorldFit Iso Trainer. And if it isn't too obvious, what these straps really have in common is that they are essentially a long strap with a cam buckle, and then various systems have different novel uses that we'll get into. So the purpose of this video is to, of course, highlight the unique features of each of these products, kind of offer my 2 cents and the pros and cons that I'm kind of noticing with them. But again, this is just my own personal opinion. Definitely offer your thoughts down below, so that ultimately at the end of the day, this might help you guys make the best decision on which device is best for your needs, or if at all. If you guys are interested in picking up any of these products, I will put links down below as well as some promo codes to help save you guys some money. Greatly helps support me and the channel if you guys do check those out. At the very least, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Let's jump into it. Now, I already reviewed the Iso-Flo, so I won't get into too much detail on that video, but if you guys do want to check that out, I'll link it on the screen here and down below. But I will make some general comparisons and updates, especially when I start talking about the T2 trainer here in a second. Now, jumping into and talking about the T2 Iso trainer, again, now the T2 Fusion trainer, I believe it's the new rebranding it's going to be called. I actually had this thing longer than I had the Iso-Flo. And again, this is one of those products I had more than one of you guys email me individually about checking this product out for a number of reasons. If you go to their website, you're going to see an impressive list or claims on what this product is primarily used for. Some of it, honestly, I thought was a little too much, but granted, you definitely can do a lot with this stuff, limited to your creativity and your space requirements, and just all the different ways and features you can maximize this different combinations of parts that's coming in this package. Now, this thing is the priciest option of all 3 straps I'm really getting into at $185 on Amazon or $179 on their website. They were gracious and helpful enough to actually provide a promo code that helps support me out and gives you guys a discount if you guys do want to check that out. It's on the screen. Again, also down below in the description box. Understandably, it's a little bit higher in the price tag, but I would say if you compare it to other strap systems like a suspension trainer, like a TRX, it's not that too outrageous considering you're getting some patented technology here, but it does come in this really nice tote bag. I know some of you guys may or may not care about this thing, but this is a nice, decent, heavy, big bag. You can definitely store all this stuff very easily. And some people throw tote bags in there and they're kind of low quality. This thing does have a good kind of functional branding, kind of heavy duty design. Otherwise, in the standard package, you of course get they call this the resistance housing, which is kind of their patented bread and butter of this package, which is very versatile. I'll talk about this. You get some extension straps, which definitely come in very useful. You get their power bungee, which definitely is one of the things and features that makes this thing kind of stand out and adds a lot of versatility to it. You get a door anchor, although you guys know if you watch the channel, I'm not a big fan of door anchors and doing stuff on a door anchors, but I digress here. Now, in their standard package, and hopefully this might change in the future because I think this is kind of the biggest flaw about this system, is their stock handles are these cheap little tubes type handles. I'm not sure why they did this. Maybe there's a functional reason for it. They do have an accessory upgrade, which they were very cool in throwing it into the package they gave me, but this thing's like $29. I would like them to see them put these handles on here. These are very good, kind of firm feeling handles, and it'd be really awesome if they actually included both of them because that would actually mix things up, or do something similar like the Iso-Flo where this is like more of a flat kind of handle where you can actually put your feet through or something like that. But maybe they do this to put your feet through for things like suspension training, just to open up some versatility indoors, like you could stand on it. But what I don't like about it is that, of course, when you start pulling, this thing kind of bends. It's just not the most comfortable thing, especially in the way I've been using it with like putting on a heavy resistance on my total gym. But if you're doing suspension training, I can see this also being an issue as well. Now, they give you guys an instructional manual, which is definitely needed for something like this. I'd like to see it a little beefed up, but I think it gives you guys a lot of necessary and good information and tips. I also do have a mobile app. I did not check that out. I did hear it's pretty useful, and they're going to continue to update that app. If you guys go on the website, like I said at the start, there is a ton of ideas kind of thrown your way. Almost a little intimidating, I would say, for the general person. It was intimidating even for me as far as like how would I approach just using all this stuff and blending it together. I would say just approach it, just have fun with it. Use it for what your needs might be. If you're gonna use it for suspension training, use that. For isometrics, use that. If you wanna get into like their self-resistance or fight resistance, I'll kind of explain that a little bit more. Certainly like a total gym, you're racking it to something. I would say just start off with having fun with it and let the necessity of the uses kind of come your way the more you get familiar with the equipment. Now the core of their system is really built around this resistance housing unit, which has some patented technology. It is not a pulley. There's some little kind of functional ridges which allow it to give it a little bit of a resistance and still allows it to kind of glide up and down. I'll compare it to the simple carabiner from the Iso-Flo here in a second. But it is interesting, if you guys do their kind of, I think they call it like body fight exercises, they're just basically using your own kind of resistance against it, much like the Iso-Flo and their simple carabiner system. It is kind of surprising if you guys never used it before, how hard it really is. I actually had my nephew play around with this thing when I saw him recently. Had the same question we all kind of logically have, like, is that really that hard? Can that really be of any benefit doing it? And the more you put into it, you will see, yes, it is great. I don't know if I'd use it as like a standalone, but maybe you certainly could. It's definitely a great kind of topper or superset thing to incorporate it. But the more I've been messing around with this kind of like self-resistance type thing, I've been gradually kind of getting addicted to it and throwing it into most of my workouts. The Bungee is really the wild card for me. This is kind of a Bungee strap, something a little bit shorter and denser and tighter than you'd see with something similar to like a resistance band that has this kind of coating, helps protect it from kind of fraying and the elements a little bit. You can do a lot of creative things with this, and I certainly was experimenting with it. There's a lot of cool things you can do if you got some outdoor space or like a park and do some unique exercises. Again, you can see a lot of those on their website. I just kind of found that while as cool as it really was, and I could probably discover a lot more with it, once I started doing and discovering the cool things that I could do with it, I'm like, well, can I just throw a resistance band and get the kind of the same benefits? And I found, at least from myself, the resistance band actually worked out a little bit better, and I could actually fine tune the resistance band setting. Granted, the resistance band, if it's looped around, say some wood like you guys are seeing here, or something that's kind of more abrasive, could potentially snap and wear and tear over time, unlike this. But you do get more of a stretch, more of like some feedback from the resistance band, so I will just kind of say that. But of course, this Bungee has a variety of clips, so you can get really creative on how you want to attach it, and also, not to mention, you can clip it and go on the fly and change things up, exercises up fairly quickly. Where I really got the most fun out of this thing was really on my Total Gym, especially in this GTS where it's got these clips, leaving it attached, doing a variety of exercises with this resistance housing unit. Felt awesome. Of course, you can do some things like isometrics with the foot plate with this thing and do a variety of creative things. They have their suspension trainer like extension, but I kind of wish they had something similar to like the Iso-Flo where you had like a secondary set of straps that would just further increase the options you can do with this. Now, comparing this thing to the Iso-Flo, because that really is its direct comparison in my opinion, I have to just first touch on the fact that even though this thing is just a simple carabiner, I don't think there's really anything proprietary or special about this carabiner other than this being a nice smooth oval carabiner. I found something very similar on Amazon, which I'll link down below if you guys may want to make your own kind of setup, which I'll allude to with maybe like the WorldFit here in a second. But maybe the carabiner and this smoothness is kind of made for this strap, I don't know. But I was very surprised that as simplistic as this was, just my own overall humble opinion, guys, this thing actually provided more friction and resistance than this unit did. And maybe that's not necessarily a good thing, but as far as its baseline functionality, if I were just like blindfold me and go back and forth between this thing and this thing, especially using it in a Total Gym or doing those standing, like fighting resistance exercises, I honestly didn't notice much of a difference. So you can take that for whatever it's worth, but that's just something I really noticed. Otherwise, the big primary difference between the Iso-Flo and this T2 trainer is the Iso-Flo has a secondary set of straps that has this kind of flat setting like this, which was also a kind of a new addition and a change up to what they did, which I think is definitely a great improvement. They, of course, don't have the whole Bungee setup, but like I said, if you're really gonna mess around with it, you could try some resistance bands. Making it through my sea of straps, I have the WorldFit Iso Trainer, which a lot of you guys recommended to me. This seems like a fan favorite for a variety of multi-use functions. Of course, you can do isometrics on this. Really, this difference between this thing is this is just as simply as bare bones as it gets. It's just a versatile strap with 2 cam buckles instead of 1, which has pros and cons to it. They do give you kind of a travel bag. This is a USA-based company. This thing is made with foreign parts, so I believe, but still USA-based. Seems like an independently owned company. Very durable handles, very hard and big. Cam buckles here, I'll say that. You notice that right out of the gates. Also, it says this is military grade straps or something like that. So very sturdy. You can feel the durability of this thing. Much cheaper than the other 2 options. This is coming at the cheapest. I believe it's $39 on Amazon. Getting into the pros and cons of the WorldFit Iso Trainer, some of the pros are the cons and vice versa. What's great about it is you have 2 cam buckles, so you can make this thing kind of super long for a variety of exercises. The downside is because it has so much length, these straps are kind of flopping around everywhere and kind of getting in your way, maybe a little potentially depending on how you're using it. While this thing is definitely more geared towards doing primarily isometrics, I see no reason why you couldn't get some extension straps and make this thing a versatile suspension trainer. And I don't know for sure, but this is kind of the question. I even asked Bullworker their question about their carabiner clip, because their carabiner clip got a little worn, but is there anything super special about this carabiner clip? Is this thing made for this strap, or are these straps really durable? Crispin did say their straps are, again, 5-year warranty. They've had no strap that's kind of worn or broken, sorry. But on this thing, I don't know if these straps are really made to have that kind of friction. They do say they're high quality, but you can see they're a little bit thinner compared to the Iso-Flo straps. But I see no reason, maybe potentially, if you wanted to try it out, getting one of those oval clips and then strapping these things on and essentially getting all the use out of those systems with this. So in wrapping this up, guys, I'll give you guys my personal favorite out of this mix if I had to choose just one of these. But granted, all these things have different purposes. These are all great products. It really comes down to what are your needs, your goals, maybe the gym space you're working out, and of course, the price point. I will make one little small caveat I didn't mention in this video is that I really have been using these Vulcan straps. I did a review on these earlier if you want to check them out, but these have been kind of my go-to for isometrics, just using the Total Gym weight bar, sliding it through this hole and doing all this standard basic isometrics, not the moving isometric type stuff with the fight resistance that you guys are seeing here. So whatever that's worth, these are a really cheap, good, useful band. But of all these 3 bands, I would say the one I gravitate and use the most probably is my Iso-Flo. I don't really know exactly why that is. I think it's the most versatile in the sense that I can just clip things on and off really easy with this carabiner. And if I'm using the T2 and I want to switch out things or do some unique things, I have to kind of feed these straps back in here. But if you were just using it for some of the things you guys are seeing in the Total Gym, this clips on and sits there really nicely. So it is kind of a hard tie depending on what I'd use. But as far as the overall functionality between the T2 and the Iso-Flo kind of wins that for me. Overall, just simplicity, lower price point, and I do like having the 2 different straps for more options with upper and lower body exercises. The WorldFit is definitely the budget-friendly option, but I just don't like that it's super long kind of for my needs. At its baseline package with a carabiner clip though, if you had nothing else, this might suffice and do the job too for most of the purposes I'm looking for. But I do know that the T2 and the Iso-Flo are fairly evolutionary products and that they keep kind of tweaking things a little bit. I said that in my Iso-Flo review. I think I said it here. I can't find it, but their foot strap that was definitely a change up. It used to be a hard, they used to give you 2 handles, then they kind of changed this up a bit. I can see the T2 Fusion Trainer, what it's gonna be called, changing and mixing things up and being a big competitor as well. So kind of stay tuned, look forward to those updates. If anything changes, I'll put a pinned comment down in the description box. But if you guys have any thoughts, opinions about any of these products, definitely let me know down below. And I'll see you guys on the next video.